Good evening and welcome. Thank you for braving the rain and joining us here this evening. My name is Shelley McFall and I am the president of Best Friends Humane Society and director of our shelter. The Humane Society is hosting this forum this evening for the citizens of Worth County. We do not endorse any of these candidates. However, we do applaud them for their willingness to serve Worth County and running for office. It's not an easy job, just running. As active members of our community, we celebrate the right to make an informed choice. And we're pleased to offer our community the opportunity to learn more about these gentlemen and ladies. They're asking for our votes.
I'm JD. I'm married to Tasha McDonald. We have 3 kids, Jamie, Joseph, and Aaron. I have 2 grandkids, Dozier and Adler. I've been in law enforcement a little over 30 years. I started out with Lee County, then I went to Albany, and then I've been a little over 19 years here with Sheriff Tompkins in this county.
I'm Ann Goldinger. I'm running for Worth County Probate Judge. I have 2 children. Well, let me rephrase that. I had 2 children. I had one pass away 5 years ago. I have one son, Bobby Goldinger. He works for the public here. He's a paramedic. And my daughter-in-law is a paramedic and firefighter. And I have 3 grandchildren, Caden, Dayton, and Heather. And I've been with the probate court for 18 years.
I'm Ronnie Grady. Actually, I grew up here, went to school here, graduated high school in 1988. I'm married to Lisa Bragg. I have 2 daughters and a stepdaughter, all 3 that's in the school system here. Graduated high school in 88 and started law enforcement in Albany, Georgia in 1989. I worked there for about a year until the sheriff had offered me an investigation job, which I came up here to the sheriff's office and took. I worked with the Worth County Sheriff's Office here as a criminal investigator from 1990 to 2005. 7 years ago, I actually left and went to the Sylvester Police Department to give myself this opportunity to run. Since I've been at the Sylvester Police Department, I've spent about 6 years in the School Resource Officer program. I'm currently back in investigations. I'm a lieutenant. I'm the Investigation Division Commander, the Criminal Investigation Division Commander, the Drug Investigation Division Commander, and the School Resource Officer program is also under my control. I'm a proud, bold Christian, member of Unity Baptist Church, and a lot of that is the reason I'm running. And that's about me. Most of you know me, but thank you for your time.
I'm Fred Dent. I'm a candidate for commission chairman. I came to Worth County in 1966 to teach school. I taught school here for 4 years. Some of you old enough to remember that. I taught some of you. It's probably the reason I got out. I got out and went to the truck equipment business. I've been in there ever since. I run my own company, transport equipment company, just inside of Albany. I've been there for going on 32 years now. I have been a district commissioner for 16 years. I have experienced a lot of things going on now that I don't agree with. And I think we need to change some of them. I'm married to Faye, used to be Booth. I have 3 children and 1 stepson. Between us, we have 9 grandchildren. And every one of them's precious.
I'm Tony Hall, and I'm seeking re-election for District 1 County Commissioner seat. I'm married to former Jackie Green. Been married to her for about 11 years. Been a commissioner for 8 years. I see where I've made a difference, and some of the things that I look at and that I enjoy so much is the community, from working with our youth to our seniors. One of the proudest things that I think that I've done was invested back into the community, where with our school system is that we started a governmental tour. And that is where some of the high school kids as well as the middle school kids get to go on a tour in April to see what our government is like. If we show an interest in our kids now into government at an early age, later on they would maybe sitting up here. But I can guarantee you this, in the near future, if we don't invest in our kids, they're the one that's going to be taking care of us and making decisions about us. So that is the biggest reason that I wanted to get our youth involved. So when you start talking about me as an individual, I'm a very humble person. I'm very direct, but I'm a very respectable person. The one thing that I'll leave you with is this right here. My mom always told me, she said, when you walk out of that door, you don't represent you, you represent me. And that is the way that she trained me, the way she taught me, and the way she raised me. And I would never do anything to embarrass my mom. So having said that, that's the person that you would get. You would get a very humble person. And I ask you for your support.
Well, I'm the last person you want to see drive up in the yard in a car. Seriously, my name is Johnny Johnson, and I've lived in Ward practically all my life. My wife and I have been married going on 52 years. We have 3 children, 5 grandchildren. During my tenure as the coroner for Worth County, I've greatly improved the department. We didn't have hardly an office, and we've got our own building and our own morgue and transportation. And with your vote and support, I'd like to continue that process. Thank you.
My name is Lenny Davis. I've been a 16-year vet in Worth County Sheriff's Department. I joined the Sheriff's Department in 1995 after being in the Marine Corps 13 years. I joined the Georgia Guard in 1995 in December. I was born in Washington, D.C. to the late Leonard Davis, as the late Alma Davis. Born in Brooklyn, New York. I made Worth County my home 16 years ago. I've been in Georgia since 1992. I've been drug trained, I've been felony trained, I've been state trained. I'm also a firefighter at Worth County Fire and Rescue. I'm married to Melissa Blaylock. I have a son, Sean Davis. I have a stepdaughter that I call my daughter, Shannon Blaylock. I have a son in Calhoun, New York, Ian Michael Davis. I've served my country. I've served the state of Georgia. I've served the Worth County residents as a deputy. Now I want to serve you as my sheriff.
Good evening. I'm Virginia Acord, and I'm running for probate judge. I'm married to David Acord, and we have 3 sons, Michael, Travis, and John David, and I have 2 identical twin grandsons, Landon and Levi, and we're active members of Heritage Church. About 6 months ago, I was approached by 2 well-respected leaders that asked if I would consider pursuing the office of probate judge. After much deliberation and prayer, I felt compelled to run. Dave and I own a manufacturing company here in Worth County, and we've been in business for the last 15 years. Our manufacturing company has recently been nominated by the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center for Georgia Manufacturer of the Year. My business experience includes business unit operations, finance management, customer relations, and new business development. I've also graduated from 2 different business programs. I believe strongly in giving back to my community by volunteering. Currently, I serve as Vice Chair of the Executive Board of the Sylvester Worth County Chamber of Commerce. The Exec Board manages the business affairs of the Chamber. I also chair the Small Business Committee within the Chamber, and it was recently created to help small businesses succeed in Worth County by bringing in educational programs. If you're a small business owner and entrepreneur, you know that it's hard to get education, to go outside of our county to get the education that we need. So I've been a part of that. I've also been elected chair of the Georgia Peanut Festival for the past 3 years. I'm responsible for leading the board of the planning, organizing, and carrying out of the festival and all its events for approximately 18,000 attendees. The probate judge manages the office, its workloads, its records, its employees, its customer service, to the residents of this community. I believe my experience both in the private sector and the community as a community leader has prepared and equipped me to be the next probate judge. I've managed up to 28 employees. I've created, adjusted, and worked within budgets. I've had to make difficult decisions regarding my employees, my customers, and my vendors, and I've provided friendly, effective customer service. As a community leader, I know how to efficiently work with the city of Sylvester and the various entities to bring about solutions to obstacles. Also, as a public leader, I have learned that our community is as strong as our leaders and those that help make a difference. As probate judge, I will run the probate court with my strong leadership skills, integrity, continued commitment to the community, honesty, compassion, and vision. I will help educate the citizens about the importance of having a will and other services the court offers, and won't wait until people are grieving or distressed before making them aware of the work that the probate court does. I will be a judge that the citizens can trust. Trust that their cases stay confidential. Trust that I will stay the same. See, I'm not your typical politician. I didn't decide to begin having high morals and ethics, start volunteering, or being a leader when I chose to run. These are qualities that I've exemplified most of my life and will carry on to be the probate judge. Your vote is important, and if you vote for me, you'll get new leadership, new attitude, and new ideas for Worth County.
Good evening. I want to thank all y'all for coming tonight. My name is Jeff Ivey. I'm running for sheriff of Worth County. I've got 2 children, Trent 14, Zach he's supposed to be 12 next week. I was born in Sylvester. Grew up here all my life. Worked the last 11.5 years with Georgia State Patrol. During that time, I worked at 3 different patrol posts. Covered 11 different counties, including Worth County. During that time, I've seen areas that Worth County can improve on based on the other counties that I've worked in. That's basically all it is.
Number one, you got to go by the state laws, which our state representatives and senators all set. But Worth County as a whole, we can adopt ordinances. Every county around us has ordinances like Terrell that covers the dangerous dogs and stuff like that. It's going to be up to the county commissioners to provide the ordinances for us to be able to do anything about it. We can only go by what state law says we can go by. We can't invent a law. We can't just go out there and that makes me mad when a lot of folks say, well, just kill a dog. We don't know whose dog it is, because if he's got one, chances are he's got more than one. So let's find out who the dog owner is, and then let's prosecute the dog owner, and then do what we got to do with the dog. If it's a vicious dog, then take appropriate measures to have it destroyed if we have to. But there's a little girl on Red Rock that got bit in the face when I was out campaigning. I met them, and it was pitch black dark at night, and I could see that baby's face. And that's something they won't ever be able to fix back, because every time that child, from the whole time she grows up, every time she looks in the mirror, she's going to see that scar. But I say let's get the county commissioners to get the ordinances in place, and then let's move on from there.
JD's right on the fact that it's going to take the county commission to develop some ordinances, but the problem with that is we've got to have a court to carry ordinances too. You know, our state court deals with state laws, and outside of that, we don't really have a court that can enforce ordinances. So the other avenue and problem that's going to come with that is they've got to find a court, whether it be the probate or a magistrate, that can hear ordinance violations. And once you can find a court, and then they can approve and come up with some laws that they can adopt as county ordinances, then we can enforce that. The biggest thing is, you know, our code book in Georgia state law is about that thick. And it's black and white, and it's called enforcing the laws. Do what you got to do within those restraints, but outside of that, it's going to take a bunch of people putting some stuff together. And, you know, when you're in a budget crunch, you know, there's got to be some importance relayed in that fact. But I hope that gives you some answers or some clarity on it.
I'm gonna agree with Ronnie. Dogs can be being out on the campaign trail like a lot of us have been for the last several weeks, I discovered that Faye and I are the only people in Worth County don't own a dog. Every time you knock on the door, the first thing you hear, woo, 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 and that one don't bother me. So, oh, that's one that bothers me. But JD, I heard about the little girl JD's talking about, and that, I'd hate for that to happen to anybody. I'd certainly hate for it to happen to one of my grandkids, or my little granddaughters, or my little grandsons. It's a hard thing when you get out in the county, though. You got to get out, lives out on the farm, nowhere near anybody. You tell him you can't have a dog, or you got to keep him penned up, and that gets to be a real problem. I would certainly be agreeable to the county taking a look at any kind of ordinances that are reasonable and make sense, and that would protect the people and protect the property owners and the dog owners, the animal owners at the same time. But we went a long way toward that, setting up the Humane Society. We already have some regulations in place dealing with dangerous dogs and all. The biggest things, they need to be enforced more than they are. But we would certainly, as a commissioner, I would certainly be willing to take a look at that and see if anything else needs to be done. And if it does, I'd be very agreeable to that.
I agree with all of that. And you're right. The ordinance that we have for vicious dogs right now is not tough enough. One of the things that I think we as leaders of this community have to do is one, we have to get outside of our comfort zone. You're right, they're leaving from Terrell County and coming over to here. We need to find out what Terrell County is doing, and maybe we can adopt some of that too. But at the same time, we need to get the community involved. One of the things when you start talking about coming up with ordinance, we as a board sit down and we come up, we brainstorm and come up with all these thoughts and ideas of how we're going to put something in place that would protect everybody. But we don't always do that. We don't protect everybody. We're going to leave somebody out or some type of dog out. One of the things that I like to do is to form a committee within the community, so when we start talking about vicious dog, is that not only the board of commissioner and the sheriff department will be coming up with these things, but your voice will be heard there. You can sit at this with that community and make recommendations that this is what we like to see in the ordinance. I think that goes a long ways. But the other piece to that is enforcement. We have to have some type of ways to enforce it. We currently have an issue in the south part of the county with roosters. We've had to address that numerous of times, and it has finally made it on the court calendar to be dealt with. So there's enforcement that has to happen. But again, I think if we form a committee, a community committee, to address certain issues such as vicious dogs, then we could come up, maybe we'll be able to serve everybody in some capacity.
As everybody here said, the state legislature has only passed several laws in the Georgia Code Book annotated under Title IV, livestock and animals. There's nothing in there when it comes to allowing your dogs to run at large, where it come the leash laws, as well as the dangerous dogs that we need county ordinances to do. If we can get the county commission to enact county ordinances, we as sheriff's department personnel can enforce it.
I agree with everybody, including Fred. I thought I was the only dog in this county. But as far as the dangerous dogs and all, in fact, we got an animal control unit in this county, but we also do need county commissioners to sit out on sort of for the catching. But also the animal rights person, she needs to go out there and she needs to document every time she goes on the case. She needs to document. That's the way when the law gets it, when the county gets it, they got something to go by, and they can do it, and they can do their job more effective when they go out there to the dogs.
Fred, I'm going to address this one to you.
Yeah.
You're elected county commissioner and chairman. What plans have you got to try to unify the county with, like, Sumner, Poland, Warwick, Sylvester? I know there was a lot of bitterness in the Sumner people when they didn't get no help from the tornado they had a couple of years ago. And it's still bitter talking down there on I just wondered what you would try to do.
I hear someone talk about, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You've got to start, first of all, working with all the constitutional officers that are in the courthouse. You got to work with all the cities, Sylvester, Poland, Sumner, Warwick.
Some of the folks in the back.
Can't hear me? Okay. But the county should be willing to help anytime there's a disaster like the tornado at Sumner. The county should be willing to help, do whatever they can. Most of the time it's debris around, trees down, roofs off, that kind of thing, and the county's got equipment that they can pick that kind of stuff up and haul it off. And yeah, I'd be very much in favor of the county participating in that. We used to have on a quarterly basis a meeting with the cities, and I think that's a good idea, that the county meet with the cities and other entities on a regular basis, maybe once a quarter, and just go over problems that we all have together and discuss ways that we can solve those, you know, as a group. But yeah, I think it's imperative, and I think from the county commission standpoint and the chairman's standpoint, the chairman has got to set the pace. He's got to lead the way. He's got to extend the hand, and I think that's important, and I intend to do that.
Hands over here, somewhere, Steve.
This question is for Mr. Hall and Mr. Dan on the county commission side. And it has to do with budgeting and what happened with the rec department. What do you guys plan to do for a different department that has succeeded and put money in the bank, so to speak, to keep them from their success being like a punishment and taking their money out of the budget? I understand that things are tight, but with youth being your main focus, recreation is one of the key things in our community. And I feel like we have in the budget that the rec department is punished for succeeding. Just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Did y'all hear the question?
To address the issue with recreation, I'm a big advocate of recreation. We've outgrown what we already have. It's not punishing the rec department because of success. We want them to succeed in their budgeting and to fundraising and all of that. I think one of the things that I've been working on, and I started this with Fred before he went off on board, is that we've outgrown our complex. We would get a bigger complex. That way they will be self-sufficient. One of the thoughts that I've had is let's do a tax district to where we can make recreation, all the taxes collected in that district would go directly to the recreation department. That will eliminate the board. When you look at the recreation board, and it's consisted of 3 elected officials. Me personally, I think that's a conflict, because if we had a recreation board that was consisted primarily of the community, you will make better decisions. It would take the political part out of it. So I think with the punishment, it was not directed at that to be a punishment. But I'll say this as well as I support the recreation department. I'm only one vote. That's all that I could vote, and I support that, and I will continue to support it. One of the things that happened a couple of years ago, we put money back into recreation. When I came on board, I think the county was giving recreation a little over $100,000, and we've increased it at. And unfortunately, this year there was a major decrease into the budget that I didn't like it, but that's what the board voted on. So it's not a punishment to the board. To the recreation, and they're also governed by their own board.
I'm going to agree with you 100%. I'm not on the board now, so I did participate in that vote. We touched on this a little bit in Sumner, and if you were there, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little redundant. You're going to hear it again. Every department in the county, their bills are paid by the county. Their salaries are paid by the county. So at the end of the year, if all of their budget is not used up, it goes back into the county's general fund. That's the way you build up a surplus. We had, when I went off board a year and a half, and 2 years ago, we had a $3 million surplus. I don't know what it is now, but I don't think it's anywhere near that. That being said, the recreation department is funded differently. It's funded jointly by the city and the county, and the county and the city send them a check. They do their own accounting, they do their own payroll. So at the end of the year, if they've got money left over, it stays in their general fund. And over the course of many years, and I mean many years, it didn't happen in 2 or 3 years, they accumulated about $150,000. All of you probably know where the complex is out here, where Little League fields and midget football fields are. I was one of the driving forces to get that thing put in. I very much believe in recreation. I played ball when I came along, and I believe it made me a better person. I really do. And I think we owe that to our kids to give them something constructive and good to do. They're going to do something. If you don't give them something good to do, they'll do something that's not so good. The property adjacent to the fields out here that the Jeffords own, for the first time, as long as the Jeffords allowed it wasn't for sale, Dave was agreeable to selling that to the rec department. And the rec department basically had $150,000 left over that they were going to use to purchase that land. The commissioners had been funding the rec department to the tune of $180,000, which is the same thing that the city does now. The city didn't used to do it. About a year or 2 years ago they started. Well, when the county found out that they had that money, they cut their budget by $130,000 to $50,000, which basically cut their legs out from underneath them, and their ability to buy that land. Now, I can't answer why, because I wasn't there, and I didn't vote on that. I would have voted no. I would have certainly voted no. I think if we got to cut $130,000, let's do it somewhere else. Let's don't do it on the back of the kids.
Got one in the back.
Fred, this is for you. I know how Tony feels on this new complex that's been talked about out here. How do you feel about doing the new complex out here where we have a bigger, better facility?
I think long-term, and I mean long-term, that's probably a good idea. I think short-term, but now in the next few years foreseeably, we need to build on what we got. We've got those 4 Little League fields and the 2 midget football/soccer fields out there. We need some additional facilities. I don't want to see us abandon what we've got here. I want us to add to it. Now, long-term, I think we need to develop this property out here. It's going to take a lot of, if you've been out there, terrain on that land is like this, it's going to take an awful lot of work to get it usable. And in all honesty, the idea of going out there to begin with came because of conflict between the city and the county, and most of y'all are aware of that. A lot of those differences have been worked out. Tony's talking about when he came on. When I came on board, the county gave $25,000 toward recreation. The city gave $25,000. I don't know how they paid the bill. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know how they did it. Mert did a great job just balancing things. Of course, he did everything. He mowed grass, he lined the fields, he did everything. But gradually we built it up until the county was giving $180,000, the city was still giving $25,000. Then he got up, what, Tony, 50 or 60? Correct. Then after all this conflict and all, and meetings back and forth, they agreed to match the county's amount. But that's the reason that thing came into being, with the conflict. Now, that being said, the EDA is giving that property to the county, and I think long-term, we need to develop it. The county has $500,000 in SPLOST money that's designated for recreation. Now, in case you don't know about SPLOST money, I can tell you, on the ballot, it says this money is going to be used this way. We're going to use $500,000 for recreation. We're going to use so much for this and so much for that. By law, it has to be used that way. It hadn't been used yet. City's got a good bit too. They got at least that much that they've never spent on recreation. But the money is there. My personal opinion is right now, with that property out there available and they've cut the budget, take that SPLOST money and buy that property out there. So let's get started on it.
The motion. Areas to change the sheriff's department, I probably change the deputies to 12-hour shifts. That way you get more coverage of the county, the deputies that you got. You put 4 deputies per shift, that way you have 4 working all the time instead of 2 and 3 working night shift now. As far as qualifications, got a criminal justice degree from Thomas University. I've got over 2,000 training hours. I've worked in 11 different counties as a patrol post. I think my qualifications, I think, speak for itself.
What I'm trying to do is first, like Jeff says, bring a 12-hour shift. Why a 12-hour shift? I'll go on a 2-2-3 rotation. 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on. We want to be able to give us every other weekend off. Not for us, but for the deputies. That will allow them more time with their families. Because the families are very important to deputies as well as the firefighters and EMTs. Families are very, very important to all of us. As far as the structure-wise, I could bring structure because I have 21 years of military experience. I have led folks in foreign countries. We need to bring the structure to the department. With that, I also want to bring the training. With the training, as a deputy sheriff, you only train as a basic peace officer. We have intermediate as well as advanced certifications. By bringing additional training, we allow them to move forward and bring up a chance to allow them to go forward and more high in the department. I feel I'm the best qualified with that. Thank you.
They discussed the hours. The hours is a big motivational thing. A lot of that has to do with morale. A lot of times as well is you want them to be as fresh when they come to work as possible. Training is a necessity. I don't think you can ever have too much training, but I'm a little bit different in the intermediate and advanced. I think you need specialized training. If you're a traffic, you need traffic training. It makes no sense if you're a traffic officer that you're going to go out and go to jailer school. You need specialized training in whatever field you're in. You need to find out what makes these officers tick. We need to get the most out of each officer. There are some of these officers that just need a little pat on the back. The sheriff has done a wonderful job. He's been here a long time. It's time for these officers to take a step forward and do all that they can do to be all that they can be. We need a better relationship with other agencies. The city and the county has, for some reason, always seemed like we were at odds with one another. Right now, I work with the city of Sylvester. The city of Sylvester's doing a real good job, and I see no reason why the city of Sylvester and the county, Poland, Warwick, everybody, we can't work more together. We're all on the same team. Public safety, that even goes in the fire department, the EMS. We're all public safety. We're all on the same team. But the biggest thing is just to do our job. This is not rocket science. We can come up with all the different platforms that we want to. But the bottom line is it's about you people. It's about Worth County, and it's about us doing our job. We raised our right hand, swore, took oath to do our job, and that's what it's about, doing our job.
The reason I think I'm the most experienced one for the job is because I've got so many more. I got 30 plus years versus these other guys. I've worked everything from a bicycle theft to a murder. I've worked drugs. I've worked the jail. I've done every court. I've done every aspect. We can do a lot of changing in our department. It just depends on how much money are y'all willing for your taxes to go up. That's the key thing. You can only do with what you got to do with. I'm not going to get accused of raising taxes. I'm sure none of these guys here want to get accused of raising taxes. And I'm glad to see that when I come out, people were asking me, JD, what you going to do about this? JD, what you going to do about it? Well, I come out in the paper and I put it in black and white about the domestic violence. I put it in black and white about the drugs. I put it in black and white about the sexual offenders. I put it black and white about the deputies. And I'm glad that all these guys are going along with my 12-hour shifts. It was a good thing to have. All the deputies want it. They love to be at home with their families. We very rarely ever get a weekend off, y'all. I worked plantation security 10 years. I worked 7 counties. I worked 21 properties, supervised 5 guys over there. I work 7 days a week. I'm not scared of work. That's why I'm going to be your better sheriff, because when you call me, I'm coming.
How you guys feel about getting some of these inmates out, misdemeanor inmates, to help get some of these roads cleaned up in the county? Laying up here in AC all day. I worked with the Sheriff's Department in Dougherty County for 2 years, and we had a work detail, and it really just makes me sick. I was born and raised in Worth County. Ride down these roads, Red Rock being the main vein, there's trash everywhere. People throwing trash out, maybe even trying to stiffen up some dumping, some dumping laws or something here, ordinances, but just getting some of these, I know it takes a little extra manpower, but it can't be that much to get some of these guys out, give them a little good time, utilize them to help try to clean this place up, because it really gets to be an eyesore. I don't know how you feel about it, and maybe making that happen.
Well, first of all, our jail is in a very much upgrade need. Right now, we stay about as max as we can. Also, a lot of these inmates, before they get sentenced, it's kind of a risky issue to have them out here. Now, when we get them state sentenced or what we call county sentenced, they get time. We work. I mean, the sheriff right now has inmates that clean the courthouse, and they clean the jail, and they clean different areas all along. But there again, you hit it on the head a little bit with what you was talking about with manpower. You've got to have somebody to supervise them. You've got to have somebody to transport them. You've got to have somebody to get them out there because you're responsible for them. When them jokers get out there and tries to escape, or one of them gets out there, they get harmed or hurt. Years ago, we used to have a public works camp here. We had a camp, and that was back in the days of the chain gang. But right now, the sheriff, if we had a bad storm, I can't tell you how many times that we've gotten out and we've gotten inmates, those same ones that clean the courthouse and the same ones that mow the grass, are out there at nighttime in the rain with us when we're cutting out trees and clearing out debris and doing such. When we had the flood, if everybody remember when we had the big flood up here, I mean, we had some working just about around the clock with sandbags. But I agree. I mean, use them as much as you can, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to one day build a bigger facility. Once we build a bigger facility, of course, we'll house more people. We'll get more people that we're not having to release early, and those that are in there that's county sentenced, they're going to have to work. And it's kind of been the sheriff's policy that if they get a 12-month sentence, they can get out on early time. They can get 6 months off if they get out and work their butt off for 6 months. And that's what we try to do. It's 12 hours a day.
Sounds like a good idea, but unless that court orders it, there ain't much you can do. We work the ones we can work now. Just like Ronnie said, we work the courthouse, we work the grounds, they cut the grass, everything around the courthouse that we can do. Storms we do, we've done that. If a storm come up tonight and we had a crew that could go, sheriff would get them out and they go. It just depends on the order of the court, because you got to go by what that superior court judge or that state court judge says.
Besides being court orders, there's a trust issue that that's got to be. The people that are actually to run around, they're the ones that are least likely to escape or least likely to be a flight risk. That's why the sheriff has them out doing car washing, cleaning the courthouse, and things along those lines. There's a block that usually sheriff keeps low-risk people that he can feel that with security that we can go out there during storms. I've seen sheriff upload a whole ambulance full of folks. So 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. But it also comes from the manpower.
I'm all for making get out there and work. And it's like I say, it's court order. And you got to go with your superior court judge. He's got to make the order so you can get them out and work. I mean, we can use them at the Humane Society. We can clean up, inmates over there clean up the Humane Society. We can clean up around the courthouse. We can get them, kick up side the roads. But at the same time, you do have manpower that you've got to deal with. You got to pay somebody to watch them. And that's, it'll go against your taxes as soon as you get somebody to watch your inmates there. I mean, I agree with you. They need to be out working. They don't need to be playing cards and watching TV all day.
With the more handguns being purchased more and more every day, the inconvenience of having to go somewhere else out of the county to have fingerprinting done. If you're elected probate judge, what will you do to address that particular aspect, and then also what other changes will you make in that department?
Did y'all hear the question clearly?
With firearms permits, a lot of changes have come about this year. And what we do now is we have to use the GAPS unit because we don't have the facility to have the fingerprints done there. But if the new sheriff comes in, decides that he wants to do that, I'll be willing to work with him because we want our citizens to have the best service they can. But the time span now, how we have it done, it's inconvenient for them to go. But the time span of when they get their fingerprints back is speedy because it comes over the internet. But we do have to send it away to have the print done. We have to send it to a print place that's the FBI and GBI approved. So when it comes back to us, it comes back in a hard cover that looks just like your driver's license with your signature and your picture on it. But whatever would best help the citizens of Worth County, I'd be glad to do it because we want them to have the best service that we can give them.
This question came up last week at the forum, so I contacted every sheriff candidate and asked them if there would be a solution. And each one of them assured me that if they were elected sheriff, that it would not be a problem to have their fingerprints done in the sheriff's department.
Deborah, you had a question?
Yes. To the sheriff candidates, what size facility would this county need, bed-wise, to be able to house everybody's inmates?
Anybody want to tackle that first?
I mean, I really hadn't sat down and looked at what we need specifics, because, the biggest thing is we don't want to build it for now. We want to build it for 20 years from now. I hope the rest of my life, well, I hope it's more than 20, so I guess we need to build it bigger than that. But the biggest thing is we need to build it, we got to build it within budget what we can afford. But we need to build it as large as we can. I'm thinking, the 200, 250 person bed, jail. I don't think we need to go build a 1,000-person jail bed and think that, the 45 that we're housing now is, we just have to look at the times has changed, and maybe go back and pull statistics and see on your arrest, we want to make sure that we've got a big enough facility that when we do get jail time, we've got a place to house these people, that we're not having to give people early release because we don't have facilities and beds. And it's not just a problem with Worth County, it's the state. The Department of Corrections, people's paroling out early. I think me and the sheriff talked about it the other day. If you get somebody now that gets 1 to 2 years in the state penitentiary right now, they may not even leave the jail. They'll end up leaving them in the jail and paying the sheriff to take care of them until they parole out. It's just there's bedding space problems everywhere, but we need to build as big as we can that's going to suit us and not cost taxpayers money within my lifetime, I hope.
I just want to ask you one more question. If you were elected sheriff, would you be in favor of the federal grants where we would house federal prisoners and get paid for that?
Well, my understanding, there's a federal grant, and there's a federal grant that's available that, and what's been explained to me, there may be a federal grant that's available that will pay up to half of your facility. What you got to look at what the federal guidelines is with that grant. If their stipulations is you got to have so many officers per so many inmates that you have in there, and they start controlling your personnel, where they may help build the facility, but how are we going to pay for the personnel? So we kind of got to see what's feasible, because if they say, okay, we're going to help you build the jail, but we've got to build it to this standard, but it's going to take you, 20 people to run the jail, well then we got to start looking at personnel that's got to come out of the county budget, that's not going to come out of that grant. So you just have to look and see if is it worth it. If it's going to save the taxpayers money going this way rather than that way.
Thanks.
Any other sheriff candidate want to address that?
On the size of the beds and the size of the facility we need to do, we could possibly do a survey and see what happened with, say, Terrell County, see what their population is compared to our population, see what their guidelines have to go by. There's federal grants out there that we can utilize. Back in 2003 through 2005, when I was with the drug unit, Sheriff had me talk a few times with the U.S. Marshal Service, because they were the ones that was actually allowing us to give me information on the grants. What happened, I do not know. I don't know if what fell through. But we've got to look at those little things. There are grants out there we have to do, so we know exactly how many beds we have to build. And like Ryan was saying, when there's a bigger facility, there's going to come manpower. With the manpower, it's going to come more money. We all have to understand that. There's got to be a give and take here. I know I pay taxes and you all pay taxes, some more than others, depending on where you live at in the county. But there has to be a little bit of a give and take, so we all know what we're about to endeavor on in this upcoming project. Because whoever is blessed, and I hope I'm blessed to become the next sheriff, we're going to have to address the situation of the jail. And with that jail comes the manpower. And with manpower comes more money. I just want everybody to understand that.
As far as the jail, we do need to build for the future. We got to look 30, 40 years down the road and what's going to happen in Worth County. You got to have a facility big enough to handle what's going on. You can bring housing, city inmates and all that, but And I'm all for federal grants. I mean, if we can get federal grants, that's more, that helps you relieve it on your taxpayers. But at the same time, you're gonna have to have more people working in the jail. It don't matter if you get it through a federal grant or if you build a bigger facility for yourself. You're gonna have to have more than 2 people working in the jail at a day. I mean, when you get more people, that's gonna be more money. I mean, there's no simple solution to your tax dollars, how your tax dollars gonna be spent with manpower.
One of the things that you have to have is space. You got to have a place for them to put them. You got to be. Some of the companies they're looking at if your EDA already have the property and ready to build on, they start looking at those things. If we don't have that, then you can't do anything. You can't get into potential businesses here. The other thing is that some of the things that the businesses are looking at when they start talking about relocating, is they look at your school system. We got to have a good school system. Not saying that we don't, because I think we do. They look at recreation. They look at the relationship between the governmental entities here. What kind of relationship are they working on? Then the most important thing is the land space. How much land space is that they can actually build on? So we have to work with our EDA in recruiting some of those people.
You know, the first thing I think you got to do is be realistic. We in the middle of a severe recession, and here you had to participate, and I participated for you. Most companies are not expanding right now. Most companies are contracting. The EDA did, I think, a very good thing. We have a 200-acre park out here. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It used to be the old Sutton property out here. I think it's an ideal place for industry to grow. We've got the land. And EDA is constantly hunting, working with the state, hunting people that are interested in coming here or anywhere else and trying to recruit them to come here. And I think that needs to continue to be. My personal belief is Worth County, you know, we're a bedroom community. Let's face it, we're a bedroom community. We're halfway between Albany and Tifton. We would probably never have a Lowe's or Walmart. What we have is a quality of life, and I think that's what we have to offer people. We have a quality of life. We have good schools. We have good recreation. We have good relationships primarily between the cities and the county. It's a good place to live. I raised my kids here, and I'm glad I did. It's a great place to live. I work in Albany because I need to make a living. I live in Sylvester because I want to. And that's what people got to do. They got to want to live here. If more people live here, we attract people with our quality of life. We'll have more service stations. We'll have more restaurants. We'll have, you know, a little bit of everything. More grocery stores. In the meantime, the EDA works tirelessly, and I promise you they do, trying to attract industry. It's not like there's not an effort out there. There is an effort there. And a couple, 3 years ago, we made the move to get the property out here that we would have something. If you came into town and say, I would like to build, where can I go? They can take you right out and show you where you can go. They're working on it every day. You know, we're just like everybody else. Not much of anybody is attracted much right now. When this economy turns around, we'll be poised to do that.
Start back up. Sorry.
This is a probate question. What is the first improvement you would make in your office if elected?
Honestly, without being able to get into the office and evaluate the whole situation, I don't know exactly what kind of changes I would make. I'd have to get there and I'd have to look at the budgets. And I think they're dealing now with the county doing away with some jobs. You know, it's hard. Being self-employed, you have to make hard decisions. You have to make difficult decisions, and sometimes with budgets, you have to do away with jobs, but isn't necessarily the deputy clerk's position. So I'd have to get in there and evaluate the office first.
Well, the first thing I would do was I would try to make our facility more accessible to the public. We have a small room. We would love to have more room so that people would have more adequate space for us to serve them in. At this time, we have seating for like 4 or 5 people. At the time, we're serving 8 people. That would be probably my first priority, because we don't like people to have to wait and be uncomfortable. But otherwise, I think we are keeping updated on our training, and I think that would be the main thing for us to get some more space for our citizens, so they know they don't stand out in the hall and wait and have a problem that we can't deal with. We need more space.
Where would you move to?
Well, we would just like to knock a wall out if we could to the office beside us, but that's not feasible right now. So we've been thinking about trying to rearrange some things in there. But we would like the commissioners to come up with an idea to help us with that if they could, because we have tried that for years to get a little more space, because we have outgrown our space. I've been there 18 years, and we got the same amount of space we started with. And we had the same amount of employees that we had. Well, we had 1.5 of a part-time then, but we have 3 employees now. And as she said, they are trying to do away with the position, which we know it's budget time. But if you come in our office anytime, you see we're steadily running. And our judge has to be one that gets out front and does the job of what a clerk does too.